anyone else. But it's very colorful. It's always something about it. Get used to it. Like I have three currencies going on in my wallet at the same time. It's always tone in our culture, idea of you do you, or and use it to get. We're going to be looking at the second chapter of Galatians. Who was doing life and experiencing Jesus. Today we're going to be picking up in Galatians chapter. Sit and listen to the whole chapter. Yet not even Titus, who was with me, our ranks, to spy on the freedom we have and to make slaves. We did not give in to them, for a moment did not show favoritism. They of preaching the gospel to the uncircumcised, as an apostle to the Gentiles. James, they to the circumcised. All the very thing who belonged to the circumcision group. The other Jews joined him in his not as a Jew. How is it then that you force Gentiles by birth are not simple Gentiles, and not by the works of the law, because by the works of God? But if, in seeking to be justified, that Christ promotes sin? Absolutely not. If I rebuild Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live, I do not set aside the grace of God, for if righteousness. Now, did you catch in there anything that might be helpful? But I have noticed Jerusalem, this is only his second time there, and he brings along experience and was preaching. And as I said, Titus was with him, not circumcised. And this was a point of contention. That the gospel was the gospel, and that was all related to Jesus. Paul was there with the guys who had been believers a lot more. They weren't going to sway him after he was preaching, because it doesn't matter who you are, because God, he had seen Titus. He had seen the Gentile needed to go through these Jesus and Jesus alone. It wasn't you need to say yes to what Jesus said. It was like this. It's not Jesus plus. He has rescued us. We didn't have to put on certain clothes. We don't have to eat certain things or avoid certain work. And they no longer need that law in the same way. But it wasn't the law that pointed them towards salvation anymore. It doesn't need to be anything. It needs to maybe have their life together a little bit more. And God favor the person that has more money, and he doesn't even favor the person that him. He shows no favor. He made each of us, and he sent his son to die for all of us. And so that's the caution that happened to Peter. We see this Peter, same guy named Cain. Paul recognizes that as a Christ, certain things or being with certain people, it was just about Jesus and what he was alone. But then some of the other apostles showed up, and he's like, oh, I better not hang out with that crowd anymore. I need to be over here with these guys. And Paul called on. He's just like, Peter, first of all, it doesn't matter. And he doesn't go into it here, but it doesn't matter who else shows up. Other Jewish friends are going to show up, and you're going to reach. And that's a maturity issue, right? Maturity issue of who we are in Christ. This isn't what you do. This isn't with them, then who do they think Jesus is? Well, this is something we need to make sure that we do well. We struggle. Go to God and Jesus. That is nailed to the cross and has been crucified with Christ. He lives in anyone who has said yes. Or when we experience Jesus and receive the gospel, we are no you option in life. We as Christ, not I, Jesus has for us. Our worldly sin crucified with Christ, no longer able to live because Christ was in me and you in us. He says, the life I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. And I don't set aside the grace of God, for if righteousness can be gained through the we can't have a mindset of if I could just work hard enough, if I could get me to God, those would get me to heaven. But then Christ died for nothing. That think being a good person will earn their earned. No one can be good enough. And I only did this much bad, so I'm a good person. I'm okay with God. That's not how it works, folks. We all sin. And there is nothing we can do to get rid of this on our own. There's not enough to get rid of our sin on our own. Jesus life. And then he laid that life down. We all need to be humble enough to recognize Jesus. And not just us, but every single person. Every single person needs Jesus. It's Easter because Jesus would have had to come. He would have had to die. But if I say that the life I live was not I, it's me around us. What we want to do if we listen to our heart, that if we listen to him, then we get what he wants. Because we just get to follow him. He will take care of us. Make sure that our needs are taken care of. And when we accept Jesus and the work that he's done, that you have done the work for us, Lord, that you would help us to have a consistent following lifestyle. And glory to you. And then, Lord, I pray that say, I no longer live, but you, I live only by faith in you, because you love me and you gave